Okay, cool. So yeah, we are going to record it and post it on YouTube. If you would like something to be edited out, like your camera showing up, then you can just message us afterwards. Okay, cool. So my plugin is called Breadcrumbs, and it's a way to visualize the structure of your vault. Okay, so you give Breadcrumbs some type of structure or hierarchy that you've created yourself, and then when you enable the plugin, it'll give you a nice way to visualize that structure and let you navigate it more easily, I think. Yeah. So the first requirement is that we have to give it this structure. It doesn't create the hierarchy for us. It just gives us a way to visualize it more easily. Okay. So let's do an example of creating some of the structure that I'm talking about. The first way that we can add structure to our notes is using YAML front matter. Okay, I've spoken about this in another video going in depth on front matter, so you can watch that if you need. But basically, we're just adding different relationships to our notes. We're saying that the current note, for example, this note about me, has a parent, and my parent is my dad, for example. Okay, so this will, my dog might come running in and out. This is saying that the parent of the current note is my dad. Okay, and so I can then create that note, go to my dad here, and I could say a similar thing. I could say my dad's parent is my grandfather on my dad's side. So, like, very basically, we're just adding these sort of typed relationships. So it's the same as like creating regular Obsidian links, except we're giving the link a certain type. We're giving it a relationship to another note. Okay. So a similar thing we could do is to say, well, for the note about my mom has children, and one of those children is me. Okay, so we've got these two types of relationships so far: parents going up and children going down. Okay, and we could also have the last kind of relationship is going to be a sibling. And so, for example, my brother is my sibling. Okay, so this is the sort of structure that you have to give to Breadcrumbs. It's not just going to make the structure for you. But if you already have something like this in place, then we can enable it and see what that's going to do. Okay, so let's turn on Breadcrumbs. It might already be on. Yeah, okay. So once you've got Breadcrumbs enabled and some structure going on, you'll see in the right sidebar, you get this new view, this new leaf with a little trail icon. And this currently is the Breadcrumbs list or matrix view. They both show you the same information, just in slightly different ways. Okay. And all it shows us right now is the current neighbors of the node that we're on. Okay. So, for example, the node for me has a parent, that's my dad. I think that's siblings. Give me a sec. Okay, that's not working, but we'll figure that out. So we can see that for the current nodes, the parent of this node is my dad. And I can click that and I can go to the next node. Okay. And we'll see then that for my dad's parent is my grandpa, for example. Okay. And so we've got these explicit relations that we put into the nodes. If I put parent somewhere in the node, then it's going to show up here as a real parent, an explicit parent. Okay. But you'll see that it also knows that I am my dad's child. Even though I haven't said somewhere here that the child of this note is me, it already knows that because it takes the implied relation, the reverse of this relationship. I hope that makes sense. So every real relationship, every relationship that you explicitly put into the note also implies the opposite of that relationship. Okay, so that's how Breadcrumbs knows that my dad's child is me, even though I haven't said it explicitly. Okay. So that's the one type of implicit relationship. If someone is my parent, then I have to be that person's child, going both ways. Another example, if I go to the note on my mom, then we have a real relationship. My mom's real child is me. And if I then go to the note on me, it now knows that it's implied that that my mom is my parent. I hope I'm not making this confusing. It took me a while to grasp this when I was making the plugin. So the reverse of the parent relationship, the reverse of the child relationship. We also have that if I go to the note on my brother, then it knows that it's implied that his sibling is me because I am his sibling, right? That makes sense. Your sibling is also your sibling, the reverse relation. And the last kind of reverse or implied relationship, if you both have the same parents, then you must be siblings. So for example, my sister has the same mom, and so it's implied that we are siblings. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to update. Okay. Also, please, if you've got questions, post them in the chat, because some of this is a little difficult to pick up at first. Let me try to figure this out. So we both have the same parent, and so it's implied that we are siblings. Okay, so because the parent relationship has to be real for it to detect it as an implied sibling. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we've got this like neighborhood view, which we can view as a list of parents, siblings, and children. You can kind of change this around too. You can turn off the implicit and real. So it just shows it to you like this. Okay. So let me move on from this feature. This is something that you can play around with. The next very distinct feature is the trail view. Okay, so I'm just going to enable that here. And the trail view shows up at the top. And it shows you from the current note, climb up the parent tree until you reach a node that doesn't have a parent. Okay. So in this case, the current node has two parents, my mom and my dad. And so I could climb up taking the shortest path, just going to my mom. My mom, I haven't given her a parent, so that's why it stops there. And I could also go up this tree, this pathway to my dad, and my dad has a dad, so I can go there, for example. Yeah, I hope this is making sense too. So, for example, I could give my mom a parent, and my mom's grandma on her side. And then I can go back to me and we'll see it there now. So if you like climb back up the parent tree, you can see that my parent is my dad and my mom, and their parents are their parents. Yeah, I hope that's making sense as well. And then you can show the longest, or you can show the shortest path only, or you can show all of the paths. And so there would be more if there were more paths. So let's add another parent there. So the grandpa on my mom's side is now there, right? Takes a little while to update. So yeah, yeah, you see how this works. Okay. And then one of the last things I want to show is that a different way of viewing this trail view, if you just change this to a 3, it's also going to show you what I call the grid or table view. Okay. And here that is, I'll keep them both on for now, just so you can compare them. But it kind of simplifies the parts a little. When you've got lots of parts going on, it smushes them together if they're the same. So from the current nodes, the immediate parents are my dad and my mom, and the parents of those nodes are these, right? So it's the same sort of structure, just presented in a different way. Okay. Let me show a completely different example of how you can just like jump around more easily. So this is a completely different example now, just using some test notes. So we can like climb down the child tree and show like lots and lots of parts climbing upwards. And you can keep going, and this thing's going to get quite big. You can make it smaller. Those arrows are a bug. Yeah, I hope this is making sense. And then you can climb back up the parent tree using either of these methods. You can preview the nodes. Yeah, until you get back to the index. Okay, cool. So we've got this matrix or list view. We've got the trail view at the top, which climbs back up the parent tree. And then the last thing here is this button, the create index button. So let me just find an example. So if you click the create index button, it's going to copy something to your clipboard. And if you paste that, it's going to create almost a table of contents. It's going to show you the child tree going down from the current node. Okay. So we can see that for this current node, that's the reference point. This node's immediate children are these two. And so we can go here, it doesn't have any children. And we can go to the second child, and its child is this one. So that's why it's now an indented level in the list. Okay. Let's show one level up, create an index for this node. We can see now it's taken one level higher of the tree, the graph structure. Okay. And then just the last example, going all the way from the top of the vault. Well, this is what it's going to look like. I'll just paste it again. So this now is the entire hierarchy of the vault. It's all the children of the index nodes, and then those children's children, and those children's children's children, and so on, going all the way down to the bottom of the vault. Okay. Yeah. Just with that index node, you can also make it so that it doesn't add the wiki links brackets. And that's just going to give it to you like this. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to finish there. That's like a big overview of the plugin, most of the things that you can do. Last thing that I didn't mention is that if you have data view, the data view plugin, you can also use data view inline fields, for example, and that'll work too. So we can see that the parent of this node is this node, for example. Okay, cool. Let me finish there. Lots of settings, and you can also change the names. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I see there's some things in the chat. I can't see the chat. Okay, here it is. Cool. So yeah, I'll let me just have a look at these questions. The first one I see here says, "Can it show the opposite?"
I'm not sure if I understood the question, but I think what they mean is, so when you create this index, you basically are able to add all the children of the current node. I think the question is, can you do the opposite? Can you add all the parents of the current node or all the ancestors of the current node?
So kind of like showing this, except in a pasteable index format.
I think so, but
I
to the
can
person that
clarify
asked the question, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you showed the example of your me note. Where can you go there? Yeah. Here we start from like grandpa, grandma, and then it goes to dad, right? And I'm guessing the me is referenced in dad instead, right? So can we show it like starting from dad and then go to grandpa instead of starting from the root of the tree, like the closest? Does that make sense?
Let me see if I understand your question. So let me just create this note. Okay, so in this note, you could create an index and it would go downwards. That's existing functionality, but you want to go in the opposite direction, create like an upwards index from the me node.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I see. No, you can't currently do that, but the way I've implemented it would make it easy to do that. So I can actually add that quite easily. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the feature. I'll add that to the repo and work on it sometime. Cool.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I think if there are none, then we can, yeah, okay, yeah.
I had one more. It's more of a meta question. Like, I'd be interested to know like what inspired you to build this.
Someone actually suggested it on the Discord. They suggested how in VS Code how you can see this sort of breadcrumb trail at the top of it. Let's find an example. So if you go inside if I'm inside here, you can see this like breadcrumb trail at the top, kind of like showing you the broader structure of where you are in the file and then which folder you're in. Someone actually suggested like implementing that. So the original feature request was pretty much just these paths at the top of the notes. Yeah, and then when I like had this graph data structure to work with, I saw like other possibilities, like showing the neighbors and different visualizations of that. Yeah. So it was like a suggestion on the forum, but to be honest, I actually didn't use the plugin for a while. I mostly just enjoyed programming it and learning more about JavaScript and stuff. I use it these days. I finally like implemented this sort of structure in my vault, but I was very much externally motivated for a while. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I don't think there's any more questions. If you do have more questions, I love talking about this stuff on the Discord, so you can message me there. My handle is this. Okay. Cool.
I do have
I think there
I
is
do
one
have
more.
one question.
Mhm.
Do you have an example of like something like this in a real note setting?
Yeah. Let me show you my actual vault. I suppose you can see this here. So this is my university notes. And so for my university notes, I've got the 6 different modules that I'm doing this semester as like children of the current note. So you can call the children field whatever you want. I just call it down. And then you can see all the children here. For each of the modules, I've got like the different assignments for those modules as children. And it's implied that the other modules are siblings because they have the same parent. Another one that I like is the yoga note. All of the siblings are like the various journal articles that speak about yoga. The children are the different types of yoga. And you can like go quite far down into it. I like the index of this note. It looks like this. Yeah. So I mean, you can anywhere that you can implement a like parent, sibling, child hierarchy, you can get a lot of value from the plugin. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Very nice. Thanks, Ross, for presenting. Yeah, like Ross mentioned, if you have any more questions, also feel free to write them in the chat and eventually on Discord.